Hello. If this video has appeared on your screen, then it has materialized right when you needed it to. So, this is Real Television. I'm Spencer, and today's episode is going to talk about Aladdin and the spiritual messages. I've turned into Sean Connery, but the episode is about Aladdin, and the channel is basically about gleaning spirits lessons from all of these movies, but especially in regards to my own journey and how that might apply to you and the world. Um, so, yeah, let's just go into the good news of the week. Although mine isn't necessarily good, um, it is, but it isn't, because I've been getting a lot of signs of like things crumbling away so that I can have a new journey start. And I saw this coming a mile away, but it still sucks when it happens. But I got fired, and it's nothing against the company. It was just not a good fit, and it was just time. So it's funny that it lined up though with all of this, because there's so many synchronicities that I've been seeing that is going to prove something to me. That's all I can really say about it. Spirit doesn't want me to talk about it too much, but I will say it'll be interesting moving forward. So I'm free, and I'm excited to see where that takes me. Let me just say that. But yeah, let me know what your good news is in the comments. I'd love to know. Good or bad, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be good news. I guess we could just say, we could call it something else in the future, but I don't know. Right now, I'm just calling it the good news for the week. But for me, that's my good news. Um, but yeah, I haven't said anything yet to anybody in my family, which is not a big deal because it is what it is. But with that being said, the movie itself is one of my favorite movies as a kid. That's one of the ones I used to watch nearly religiously. And I used to love playing the SNES games, both Lion King and Aladdin, all the time, even though they were difficult. And it just brings back a lot of memories of my inner child, like my childhood, and how, we all grow up believing that we are special, and we are in our own way. And unfortunately, the world kind of dims your light and makes you feel like you don't matter and that you don't care, or that people don't care about you. At least that's kind of how it felt for me when I was growing up. And that's something I'll kind of cover again, a slightly different aspect than I did in previous episodes. And I decided I'm going to start calling these videos episodes instead of videos, because they are videos, but they are technically part of my channel, and I like calling them episodes anyway. So that's just a little side note. Um, but yeah, I received a crap ton of messages, both in the mundane and the spiritual. It's kind of serving as a bridge for whoever views the video. And I kind of just want to get straight into it because it's really long. At least when it comes to how long it took me to get all of these messages, it was like 7 hours for an hour and a half movie of channeling and just thinking and like seeing the messages. And, it took me all day to write this. But yeah, I'm not letting anything stop me from chasing and pursuing my dreams. And it shouldn't stop you either, no matter what happens in your life. So, just like me, you know. But with that being said, let me go ahead and get it ready over here. I have it ready to go. But feel free to, keep this on in the background. It's kind of just turning into kind of a podcast, which is fine. But this is the lessons that I got called to share. But before we start, I did want to kind of let you know that if you feel called to support the channel, or you want to be like a Patreon member or something, I do have that technically. I just haven't put the link out, but Spirit's guiding me to do that for whatever reason. And I'm not saying any of this to guilt you into supporting or anything. I'm far from it. I I just feel called to do that. I don't know how to explain it, but I've included the link to the Patreon in the description, and I've also put my Venmo and Cash App if you feel so inclined. Especially right now with how it is, um, it would be greatly appreciated, but not required, of course. Um, but yeah, especially if you feel like it touched you in a way that helped you. Um, you don't have to donate, but if it did, then I am happy for you. And if you do decide to donate or become a Patreon member, that is so much appreciated, seriously, at least right now. So, but with that being said, let's just get started and get straight into it. I don't want to, delay too much. Um, but yeah. All right. So, to start this off, I wanted to preface this with some information. I asked Spirit if she wanted me to keep the political takes on this in this version, and she gave me some very clear answers on that with my tarot cards. And this is all stuff that Spirit wanted me to talk about specifically. So now, with that said, let's get into the actual podcast slash video essay, whatever you want to call it, portion of the video. I know I've talked about my Mormon past already and some of the trauma I've been through and how I've gotten through it, but I'm going to touch on the Mormonism portion a bit more since it's relevant to the video in particular. To start, growing up Mormon came with a lot of restrictions. The way I could dress, the way I expressed myself, what I ate and drank, and ultimately what I thought. Excuse the dogs barking if you can hear them. Mormonism and a lot of other religions, in my personal opinion, rely on shame and guilt in order for people to tell on themselves, making them think that natural human tendencies are somehow evil or wrong. It's a little like being stuck in the desert, an amphibian in the middle of the desert surrounded by desert animals that were already used to the harsh weather, with nothing to quench your thirst, pure survival. It requires a bit of resourcefulness and cleverness because you have to be smart in order to survive in that kind of environment, which unfortunately I had to do at a very young age. Although I was surviving, I questioned literally everything around me, which is basically an unsaid no-no in Mormonism. Intellectual pursuits like questioning God and life weren't exactly revered. I asked myself the tougher questions I didn't have answers for, such as why do we have to go to church if we can be happy outside of it? Why are other religions supposedly wrong and ours isn't? Why is being LGBT inherently wrong? Why can't we date before the age of 16? They probably don't seem like big questions to you, but for someone back then who was relatively young and still had a lot to learn, these were questions I desperately wanted answers to. I knew that I didn't fit in that environment and felt like I was suffocating, but didn't know why, which led me to naturally question if I should look at other religions just like I mentioned in one of my previous videos. That's what sparked my interest in spirituality and witchcraft, but mostly just spirituality. My curiosity uncovered all of the sand covering tiny treasure troves of information and wonder. But I was surrounded by Mormons in my whole neighborhood. We all lived together like a big commune, but not truly. We all still had our own homes and families, but you couldn't walk 5 feet without running into another member's driveway. It wasn't exactly easy to do something that was deemed sinful and easily get away with it when it was outside of your own home, such as being seen entering a metaphysical shop or something. Every aspect of my life and the lives of other Mormons were completely dictated by the church. A lot of the issues I saw that was rampant in the church was that there was a lot of emphasis on keeping up appearances. You needed to show a well-kept family, a balanced, stable family, that there was absolutely no problems, and if there were, you were gossiped about, despite them having good intentions. They often say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. If you didn't go on a mission, you were talked about. If you did anything you weren't supposed to, you got talked about. This deeply affected so many aspects of my life on an individual level as well. They were banking on keeping myself and others in this constant cycle of worthiness versus unworthiness, to be as perfect as possible, morally, emotionally, physically, most of the time, and mentally. It's not wrong to believe in Mormonism, but it doesn't work for everyone, which is perfectly fine. We all have our own journeys and our own beliefs. But for me, I found that they wanted you to come back to make sure that you gave them money. And in the case of Mormonism, at minimum, they wanted 10% of my income every month. And a lot of the times it determined your worthiness. Let me be clear though, most religions do this, and it's differing in the degree to which it happens. Of course, it's not just Mormonism that does this. However, in Mormonism, not paying your tithing would often bar you from visiting and doing work in the Mormon temple as well, as well as getting endowments for yourself or with your partner. You can search what that means and what goes into that. But for the sake of this episode, I won't go into it since it's going to be much longer than my previous episodes. You can check out Mormon Stories podcast or look up endowment ceremonies on YouTube if you're curious. The constant struggle to remain faithful and worthy was something that was held over me the entire time. Better be good, or I'll have to tell the bishop, or better not do that, or I'll feel extremely guilty for a week or more. That kind of stuff. That's not to say that all religions are bad, because in the end, they all help someone out there. That's all I personally would want for someone, is to have something they believe in. Even atheists believe in something, which is nothing. So to each their own. There's nothing wrong with having your own beliefs. Faith and belief are extremely personal things, and if it's not making you feel whole, freer, and more connected to the people around you, it's okay to walk away despite how difficult that may be, even if you're the only one walking away. Just like Aladdin, your personal power also includes your personal belief systems, both in religion, spirituality, and your own personal moral code. That is but just a few aspects of who you are, though. And aspects of yourselves are allowed to change and grow with time. It shouldn't be dictated by others outside of yourself. Despite his living conditions, he still hoped for something better. No matter what people said or did to him, he knew that life shouldn't be that way. He did what he could to protect and help others, especially those children looking for food after he successfully ran from the guards after stealing the bread. I'll say something in regard to my living situation and where I'm personally at right now. It's hard to talk about because I feel pretty embarrassed about it, but I'm feeling called to be extremely vulnerable with these videos in the future and right now. Especially with my current circumstance with what happened before making this video in relation to my job being lost. I currently live in a shed, and it's remodeled to be lived in, but it's a small living space just like the genie. I don't have much, just like Aladdin, but I still hold out hope for a better world, both my own and everyone else's. It's not easy to share this, but I feel called to be honest, because someone out there needs to hear it. Again, this isn't to guilt anyone, but it relates to the story of Aladdin. It's nice, but it's not my forever home. It's just a waypoint in my journey. I've decorated it as best I can so that I feel at home, but I know this won't be forever. I just have to figure out how I'm going to level up my life. One way I'm doing that is by sharing these videos, these episodes online. I'm also writing some books that, like I've mentioned quite a lot already on the channel in previous episodes. I also love movies and hope to make them one day in any capacity. I have a lot of dreams, but no way to grasp them. Just like Aladdin. He's got nothing but heart and a willingness to believe it can all change dramatically one day. just like me. This shed is actually in the backyard of my mother's home, hence the reason why I'm embarrassed about it. I don't like talking about it, but you never know. Something good might happen soon to help me get out of the situation. Not that it's bad, but it's just not a long-term solution. I'm extremely grateful that she's allowed me to live here and that she didn't kick me out when I came out to her about 4 years ago in October. In that time, I moved out and then back because of a roommate situation and to finish college. I had about half a year left, and despite having that degree, I wasn't able to land a job until this one I just lost. It made me realize that I was never supposed to take the normal route. I had to take my own route to get to where I wanted to go, which was always in the creative field. I just have to get my message out there. You never know what creative endeavor might spark something in someone else's life. At least that's how I view it. But the part about never having to take the normal route is actually extremely accurate on Spirit's part. The soul contract I agreed to when coming here. Everything about me is a rebellion in itself. The way I dress, the way I present myself, my identity, the way I love, the fact that everything seems to crumble around me no matter how hard I try to take the normal route in life. Yet it always works out when I take my own route. It's the strangest, most wonderful thing. Yet I can't do this on my own. With creative things, it's never a one-sided pursuit. It's always relied on outside opinions and outside support. It's something that, if done right, can really speak to people. Hence why so many creatives or creative things... Hang on, my cat is meowing. Sorry, I had to pause it because my cat was meowing and wanting to come inside. Hence why so many creative things like certain films or books or all-time favorites like Jurassic Park or Alien or The Hunger Games are so popular. I hope to get to that point one day where my name will be on a few books or in the credits of a film. I know I can get there, especially now that I don't have anything holding me back. I can focus on these videos and helping people as I move to get to that point. Maybe picking up a part-time job somewhere if I need to. But Spirit has my back as long as I put in the work, and I'm doing that. I know I'm not the only one dreaming from less than ideal circumstances. Maybe you're in that position too, feeling stuck or uncertain or like you missed your chance. But I promise you the same can happen for any of you watching this episode, including myself. If you follow your dreams and put in the spiritual work of healing your shadows and integrating them and put your faith in yourself and spirit and your own spirit team, you'll go anywhere you want. Just make sure your why is solid and it's not rooted in greed or what have you, and you'll be all set. Your dreams don't have to be big either. It could just be as simple as having something to eat tomorrow, or as big as having your own business that is worldwide, or even bigger, who knows. The only limit is your belief and your level of awareness of what you actually want and who you truly are inside. Speaking of which, the line that the first character says at the beginning of the movie, that's voiced by Robin Williams, we love him, where he says, "This is no ordinary lamp. It once changed the life of a young man completely," made me tear up because of my own current trajectory in spirituality and this feeling that something huge is coming into my life soon. I don't know what it is, but sometimes we don't see it coming, and it's something that Spirit knows will be better than what we had before. And it comes in faster if we are grateful for what we have in the moment and see the silver lining in everything. Much like how Aladdin deals with stealing food every day for survival. He's optimistic, but knows this isn't the life he wants or imagined himself having. And he makes sure to help others along the way, if he can, because he knows what it feels like to struggle in life. His heart allowed him to change his life, not the lamp. The lamp was the catalyst. This ties in with the belief I had and still have to this day in order to survive. whenever there was something that made me uncomfortable and uneasy or downright upset about my particular situation, I always reminded myself that it won't be like this forever. Much like Aladdin says at the beginning, someday things are going to change. That's where spirit came into my life, and on a subconscious level, it allowed me to continue on despite the pressure to conform and just accept life as it was, or at least was deemed to be by others. The person I wasn't supported by anyone in my life back then. In fact, I kept a lot of it hidden. I felt unsupported. Yet I was afraid to say anything. I stayed within the lines people had drawn for me, and it was much too small of a living space for me. A living space. Just like the genie's lamp. I contorted myself for so long trying to fit within those parameters. Just like the line where this character at the beginning says, "This boy was more than what he seemed. He was a diamond in the rough." I'm not saying that to be egotistical either. This has been something that was constantly coming up in my own tarot readings for myself and the collective ones I kept coming across on my social media. As a matter of fact, that is the reason I'm even covering this particular movie. The songs from the movie A Whole New World and Prince Ali have come up time and time again since the beginning of this spiritual journey I've been on. It's a clear indication on how Spirit wants me to see myself. Spirit wants me to see myself as someone worthy of respect and love. Someone who cares deeply about the world and themselves. Someone who is creative and adventurous. Someone who is rare to find. Someone who has a good heart and wants the best for everyone. Someone who stays true to their heart despite what happens to them. Or maybe because of what happens to them. Because just like Jafar chasing down that golden scarab, people like him want what they don't have. They want power, they want influence, and they want control. But they don't understand what it takes to get that. What people are really looking for is connection, solidarity, love, and friendship. That's what really matters at the end of the day. Not money, not status. Although those things certainly help. It's about seeing the humanity in people. It's about seeing someone in need and saying to yourself, I'm going to help them. And not for views either, like those people who record themselves giving a homeless person food. Speaking of which, I wanted to talk about something I've wanted to do for so long, but felt like I would never be able to do. I want to have a business. Well, two actually. One is to help the homeless, and the other is to own a film studio. I have no idea how they're ever going to connect at all, or if it's even possible to have both of those things. But with the first, it's especially important considering the executive order that a certain orange man has just signed. I had this plan to make tiny homes and get plots of land so that I can help house them and help them feel at home while they get back on their feet. They'd have showers and bathrooms, and most importantly, shelter and food. They would have counseling and be given opportunities to learn how to be interviewed. They'd have resources for drug and alcohol detox/rehab before going there, and perhaps if we have enough money to help them, we'd help pay for that. It would most likely be a nonprofit, but I would really like to help them. I know that living in Arizona, it gets unbearably hot in the summers and freezing cold in the winter. If I did, I would start in the most volatile areas first, like Arizona. I'd like it to be a global thing, but I know that might not be possible. But I can hope. I'd name it after a character in my book series I'm writing. His name is Eragon Saphira. He's a homeless young adult that's been that way most of his life. He lost his parents and lives moment to moment, but in my book, the government rounds up these homeless people and tells them that they're either going to jail for being homeless or they will need to enlist in the military. And this character enlists. Something bad happens to him, and he learns how to heal from that and ultimately help others who were also affected. I don't want to say too much just because I want it to be a surprise for when it does come out and gets published and people are surprised about what that bad thing is and how he overcomes it. His character, and he's not the main character, I will say. He's a side character that helps the main character. His character is just trying to get by and be happy. It's much like what happens to homeless people today. They are seen as disposable and a nuisance. But what people who think that need to know is that they are people first. They just have circumstances that were either brought on by poor choices or unfortunate turn of events or addictions. There's nothing wrong with going through a hard time. All they need is someone who cares about them and a system that does something about it. Not a system that discards them at the first opportunity because it's easy. That's what we're all trying to do at the end of the day. Just get by and be happy. But what if we could thrive and have joy instead? That's the kind of world I want to see. I want to see people happy enough to wave to each other or dance together to loud music in traffic. I want to see a world where going to the hospital actually treats the problem rather than medicating the symptoms. There's so much that the world can do, but we choose not to as a collective. Going back to the Jafar analogy, though, Jafar represents those people who want power and influence for the wrong reasons, and to try to take it from those who do. I've had people in my life like that. For example, those roommates I mentioned earlier, they were one such example. Don't get me wrong, I love them still, but it hurts to see how someone treats you and realize they didn't treat you the way you were treating them. I unfortunately and ultimately had to end that friendship. That's how I saw the world back then in Mormonism. That the world was out to get me because everything I was a beacon of defiance on every level, like I said. I felt that so much so that I was so close quite a few times to ending it all, but I didn't. I didn't really know why, but I had the will to stay longer. Because it won't be like this forever. I had to believe that. I know someone out there needs to hear that too. If life is feeling too much or that you just can't seem to get in a good place in life, you have to know that I love you, even though I don't know you. And it won't be like this forever. I promise. Maybe if you feel called to, you can share in the comments how our little community can help you, even if it's just solidarity and empathy. You never know. Someone might be willing to help you in a bigger way. Community support and mutual aid can mean the difference between life and death sometimes. That same scene, though, that Jafar chasing the golden scarab also reminds me of my own anger issues as a teenager. With everything going on at that time, it was no wonder I was angry. It's no wonder I loved werewolves so much and transmuted that into werewolf artwork. I had to use something to hold all of that rage. I had to use that as an archetype to hold it. I was going through gender issues I didn't have the words for. I had depression, anxiety, health problems, bullying issues, watching my own father fall to opioid addiction, among other things. There was so much going on back then. I didn't feel at home in my body, my mind, or my spirit, on top of feeling suicidal. That's a lot for one person to take and go through. It was all happening at the same time, too. Wave after wave of problems. What I'm trying to say is this. No matter what happens in life, no one can take away your heart, your passions, or confirmation burp. Your passions or your past that made you who you are. No one can take your memories or your feelings away. Those are what make you human. Those are what can help you and others get out of their own way or their own circumstances. Community and connection are severely undersupported and underestimated. Much like Aladdin. People in power like Jafar only see the wealth they can get and will do anything to get it. Even discarding people who are deemed expendable. You are magic because you're human. You can feel what it feels like to have joy or sorrow. You can see what people are going through, good or bad. You can hear the beauty or pain in someone's voice. You can touch the lives of many. and you can taste the potential of the world through your senses. Now, that power that Jafar was chasing turns into the Cave of Wonders. It turns into a tiger head with an open maw. Tigers are a synchronicity for me. They represent willpower and the tenacity to keep going, at least on the conscious level for me personally. I have thought about getting a chest tattoo of a tiger or something too. But in any case, the idea of a tiger is that personal power I mentioned before in the previous episode. This Cave of Wonders also represents that it can really change your life if you find that power within yourself, to stay on your own path despite your temptations to go out of alignment. The tiger aspect also represents to me that fierce protection of your heart and your energy, even if people think they can just take it from you somehow. It makes me want to call it destiny switching, like someone actually tried to switch destinies with you, but it never works. Just like how the Cave of Wonders only lets the diamond in the rough in. In order to find your personal power, you have to be able to completely be true to yourself, no matter what. You can't let other people dictate who you are. Much like the scene where Aladdin helps those children who ran into the street when that suitor came for Jasmine. He says, "You are a worthless street rat. You were born a street rat. You will die a street rat, and only your fleas will mourn you." Yet before that, Aladdin says, "If I were as rich as you, I could afford some manners." You can't let people tell you who you are. Only you can do that, and you have to stick to it. Much like how Aladdin says after that interaction, "I'm not worthless and I don't have fleas." You have to sort of repeat it like an affirmation until you truly believe it. And you'll realize that those things were never true. They were projections of the fears onto you, someone they could blame for their own problems inside themselves. It makes me think of the small musical number right after that. Riff raff, street rat, I don't buy that. If only they'd look closer. Would they see a poor boy? No siree. They'd find out there's so much more to me. I want to sing it, but I know that my voice would break instantly because it just hits me in my heart. I know what it's like to feel worthless or alone or stupid or, dare I say it, hope for better days ahead. It's like Spirit has been talking to me my whole life, but only recently did I actually tune in and listen. I've had so many synchronicities come up on billboards, license plates, music, things people are talking about, etc. There's no way I could deny it at this point, especially today, the day of filming. I know Spirit is going to catch me during this free fall moment. You never know what Spirit will use to talk to you either. You just have to be willing to listen. As soon as you are listening, you go from having little to no chances of realizing your dreams to suddenly having all the opportunities presented to you. And I'm in the middle of that right now. I'm kind of in the middle of that transition period. I've realized. I just have to keep moving forward. Feel my feelings and push past that and into a better chapter in my life. I followed that little voice telling me to keep going. Much like that song from Frozen 2, Into the Unknown. The entire song, the lyrics speak to me right now, especially. Just go to the description right now and see what I'm talking about and then come back to this one. I have a feeling you'll see that song a lot differently now. That's how I felt for so long, not following my heart and wanting to stay on the normal path, but knowing deep down that it wasn't for me. Every day is getting harder. That portion is especially true. Every day felt harder and harder for me to keep going because I was heading in the wrong direction. Check out the symbolism in the things that are coming across the screen as well. That might be something that helps someone out there too. Something that someone out there might need to see or read. They say that rejection is protection and redirection in the spiritual community. I'm trusting that Spirit has a better path for me than what I was on, and a better outcome at that. I just had to surrender to the idea that I had to conform, to twist myself into pretzels trying to follow what everyone else told me was normal or steady. I was afraid of what I was risking if I followed Spirit, just like the song says. I was risking changing my life. I was risking leaving what no longer serves me. I was risking fake friends. I was risking my heart changing my world and the world around me. There's absolutely nothing wrong with following your heart. You never know what that will do for yourself or the world. Even if it's just a small way, like smiling at someone, or big ways, like my business idea for a nonprofit to help the homeless. You never truly know the impact your heart will have, even on yourself. You are your own diamond in the rough. You just haven't finished pressurizing yet. It can be scary, I know. Right now, I'm scared, but I'm choosing to keep moving forward. I'm choosing destiny over fear. Losing a job feels like trust falling with Spirit right now, let me tell you. It's like that thief walking into the Cave of Wonders at the beginning, and how it might feel scary to follow it at first, and you're scared you can't handle it. And just like how the Cave of Wonder collapses every time you think you're not ready, Spirit closes the door, waiting for you to be ready to follow your heart, to keep going despite fear. I asked Spirit to show me how good it can get, and I was told, be careful what you wish for, since the beginning of this journey. Because if you wish for something like I did to change my life completely, it can feel terrifying. Things start to crumble, people start to fall away, jobs let you go, yet it's all for the better. You just have to keep the faith in yourself that you can get through it, and Spirit will do the rest. I know for a fact that I'm the curse breaker in my family. I'm too different from everyone in my family. Not that it's a bad thing, because clearly there's a reason for it. I've gone from the vibrational level of negativity to something my higher self has guided me to take. It's my highest timeline. It might not feel like it now, but it is. I just have to wait for Spirit to show me how good it can get, like I asked. It's like the portion where Jafar says he was obviously less than worthy after the thief got buried in the sand by the Cave of Wonders. If you believe you're not worthy or you worthy, both are true. If you understand yourself and find that balance in yourself, you can't go wrong. No one can deem you unworthy, because you know in your heart that you are more than what you've been told. Being a curse breaker runs deep. I don't think people realize just how far it goes. Those beliefs that you were raised with are directly taught to us through our parents and our parents' parents. On and on and on until Spirit sends someone to break that. Anyone in the family could have, but I chose to follow the road less traveled. To follow my heart. That's why today we are experiencing the extinction burst in politics right now. They are trying so hard to hold on to what little power they have left, even though it looks like a lot of power. That's why they're trying so desperately to push people out and crack down on things that don't need to be cracked down on, such as homelessness or LGBT people or healthcare. In fact, they are screaming for a softer approach. The divine feminine, the understanding that we are all capable of showing and feeling. I say this because it takes a lot of courage to be that diamond in the rough, that curse breaker. You have to find your own oasis in the desert. You have to find your own happiness within yourself before you can help others. It's like you're on an airplane and it's needing to make an emergency landing, for example. Those masks fall, but the rule is that you put yours on first and then you help others with theirs. That's what we're doing here. That's what I'm trying to do. For a long time, I felt like Aladdin, where the guards were chasing him at first, and when he says, all of this for a loaf of bread, like I felt like the world was out to get me, like I mentioned before, that somehow I was not meant to be here. that I was somehow born in the wrong place in the wrong time, which fed into my suicidal thoughts. Yet, like Aladdin, he was meant to be there. He was meant to take out Jafar. He was meant to marry Jasmine. His life was always going to change. He just didn't and couldn't see it yet. As I typed this, my right ear rang so strongly. Confirmation. I know that these words might feel like I'm telling you, it's easy, just follow your heart. Like Aladdin asks, you think this was easy? To the guards rhetorically. None of this was easy, and it was never meant to. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, as they say. And the world would be better for it, in my opinion. Confirmation burp, excuse me. And we wouldn't be going through what we're going through as a society and as a species, in my opinion. What I'm saying is that these things we go through are there to help us, not hurt us, even though it might feel that way at first. It's trying to nudge you in the right direction. It's up to us if we listen and learn from it. It reminds me of the scene from Lion King where Rafiki says, "Ah, yes, the past can hurt, but the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it." I grew up learning to do just that. I questioned everything, like I mentioned previously. I asked myself constantly, what am I supposed to learn from this? And let that lead me. I made changes if necessary and integrated those lessons so that I wouldn't repeat them. Sometimes what looks easy or strong to others is survival for that person experiencing what they're going through. Just like the Aladdin or the song One Step Ahead in Aladdin is kind of how it felt for so long. I felt like I was flying by the seat of my pants half the time and felt lucky when things finally felt like it was going in the right direction. But then those guards would come and ruin it. Then life would do its thing and push me to move again. Like I was one step ahead. I tried to remain positive and let myself feel my feelings as deeply as I would both allow and as much as I needed, but tried to keep going no matter what. The sheer willpower that I needed to have sometimes was all I had. The willpower that was required to keep running, to keep moving. It was just like that scene where Aladdin gets cornered and all those swords are pointed at him, and he's backed up against a door. Every time I saw something that spoke to me, it was always something that the world had deemed wrong or other. Furry fandom? That's disgusting. Queer identity? You're going to hell. Gender exploration and expression? Fix yourself. Spiritual doubt? You're broken. My own body? You're trapped here. It makes me emotional thinking about just how much my life has been going against the grain of life. It's like a wild horse people keep trying to tame yet always fail. Like Spirit in the movie Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. I've included some clips in the description along with other things that I think might help drive the point home and to think about and to dissect. Dissect them and see if you can glean anything in those that will help you understand what I'm talking about, and you might find something that helps you understand yourself or your life. But at the same time, I'm not surprised with everything I've been through. The levels to which something was trying to make me or take me down. I don't know if that's even true, but if there are negative entities or negative energies out there, they did not want me succeeding. And yet they couldn't do anything about it. No matter what, I was the spirit that could never be broken. Just like the horse in Spirit and Aladdin himself. He never broke. He just pushed forward. They both did. I see myself in both of them, and you should too. And if you don't see yourself in these characters, these archetypes, just know that you will eventually. One way or another. If you don't take the time to go within and learn more about yourself and search for answers, you could go your whole life without ever really understanding yourself or finding connection to spirit. It's been done before. That's where generational curses come from. Like I said before, those who didn't learn are doomed to repeat it until they do. It's not really in the traditional sense of doom either, because there's no doom in learning. Earth is like a big school, like I said. I don't know if anybody else believes that, but that's what I believe. Earth is like a big school, like I said. But there's no set curriculum, and you have to want it. You have to be willing to listen in order for your dreams to come to fruition. You have to be the co-creator of your life. Spirit is the other half. You just have to keep your mind and your heart open. Just like I say in the closing of my videos, of my episodes. There's a reason I say it, and this is it. I practice what I preach. I'm not telling you these motivational/spiritual things for no reason. That's partially why I'm starting to get on board with reincarnation. I've learned so much in this life, and I can see why there would need to be multiple lifetimes of learning. Some things just can't be learned in one lifetime. Your soul eventually needs to learn these things in order to ascend into joy and freedom. That's why Spirit gave me this task in this life, but only if I could get to this point. That I believed in myself and my dreams enough that I pursued them anyway, no matter what. I want to be clear, I'm not saying people deserve their pain, though, or that trauma is a cosmic punishment. I'm saying this world runs on free will as well. And sometimes that means awful things happen. But surviving those things doesn't mean that you deserved it or that you're broken. It means you've been forged. And that strength is part of who you are and how you operate. The scene after where Abu picks up one of the swords and starts swinging it around at the guards, and the guard stops and yells, "You idiots, we've all got swords," makes me think about how we all have our own swords, our own truths. It makes me think of the Ace of Swords, which I personally believe is my card, if that makes sense. I got it tattooed on me, for crying out loud. It also makes me think about how we can all have our own truths and all of them being real at the same time. It's also true that people can use their truths to cut others down and say something like, "Yeah, you think you have the truth? So do I. You're nothing special. Yours doesn't matter any more than mine does." It's what we choose to do with our truths that matter most. It ties into whether we go from nothing to something because it can make us go down in infamy or become famous or somewhere in between. It doesn't matter. It just depends on how far you're willing to take it on either end of the spectrum. Part of my truth is my gender identity as a trans man. That doesn't mean that you have to be trans to figure out what your sword, what your truth is, or that you have to be trans to change the world. Not that I'm trying to do that, but you can change your own life, your world, if you choose to follow your own truth. If you take out your sword and defend your truth like a tiger in a cage or a tiger in the jungle. You can choose to be afraid of your own truth, or you can live it. No matter what happens and what policies come into place, they can't take that from me. They can't take who I am inside. The portion where Aladdin says, "Wish me happy landing, all I gotta do is jump," kind of feels like where I'm at right now as well. I'm letting things crumble away that need to crumble away because because they can't come with me into this new chapter in my life. It's a leap of faith into the unknown, into the life I've always deserved and wanted. Confirmation burp. Just like Aladdin gets to at the end of the film. That palace, that abundance, and no problems at all anymore, like he said in the beginning. I'm not saying that life doesn't still have ups and downs once you get to where you're going, but at least then you're in a place that doesn't affect you nearly as hard as it used to. In order to jump, though, I had to realize my worth. I had to really understand that I was not worthless. I'm not stupid. And I'm not naive. I prioritized my happiness and energy since the beginning. All I'm trying to do is help others see theirs too while trying to realize my own dreams. I had to have the clarity to see the world differently. Speaking of which, I did want to take the moment to talk about the situation in Gaza. because it is important. Those people are human. We have to realize the humanity in each other, like I mentioned before. But to do that, we first have to see the value in ourselves, to believe that health and happiness aren't supposed to be luxuries, commodities, or politicized buzzwords. They're rights, basic ones. And whether we realize it or not, the way we treat others and ourselves ripples outward. Right now, we're at the wrong end of the spectrum. We're destroying ourselves. Gaza is an extension of that global self-destruction. That doesn't mean they're not worth saving. That doesn't mean we're not worth saving either. I've done what I can in the moment to help, but it's not enough. We can't just be individual people helping these people. We all have to keep pushing with protests, petitions, calls to our reps, whatever peaceful tools we can access. And let me be clear, this is not a call for violence. Now, I'm not just saying that to perform. I'm saying it because it's true, and we need more creators and influencers to stand up boldly for Gaza. I've been around that my whole life. Performative purity, performative caring. People who were more focused on looking good rather than doing good. That's not what the world needs right now. The world needs truth. It needs courage. It needs action. Not another sermon wrapped in white robes and silence. With that said, it starts within. That way, eventually, it reflects outwards to others and then ripples out further. Like that drop in a calm water. It ripples outward and touches everything in its path. That little wave can turn into a big one. Just like in Interstellar, that scene where they think that there's mountains in the distance when really it's a big wave of water. The more we realize that we are stronger together, the more we can make a bigger impact. I can't make that impact on my own. It has to be together and with others. Now, with that being said, the next scene I wanted to talk about is Jasmine and how she chases off these suitors, because I see it as her wanting happiness that is genuine and wanting that freedom. But she's being forced to choose. It's sort of connected in my mind to the scene with Aladdin from earlier where he just wants bread and has to fight for it. We shouldn't be having to make ends meet and sacrificing our souls just for a paycheck. Just to keep a roof over our heads and our bellies full. I refuse to get multiple jobs. Not because I couldn't or I'm lazy or whatever. Far from it. I just refuse to sacrifice my happiness for money. I want to be the change I want to see in the world. It only takes one person to set that spark off. But I just want to be clear yet again, I'm not calling for any sort of violence. Jasmine knows her worth and that she isn't some prize to be won, like she says later in the film. We aren't slaves to anyone unless we allow it. This ties in with the following scene where Jafar uses his staff to hypnotize the Sultan and says that everything will be fine. It's almost like the system itself is telling people that it's going to be fine the way things are. You're just not conforming enough. When it's the fact that the systems refuse to actually serve and is only looking out for their own interests. It can also work on the individual level with people telling you to shut up or that it's going to be fine. Me included. The top of his staff is a cobra, and to me that means threats and compliance using fear-based tactics, which is exactly what's happening right now. Hypnotizing you so that you forget who's really in charge. The people. Like I said before, we have to be the change we want to see in our inner worlds and the outer world. One will always affect the other, and as I wrote this, my right ear rang so loudly again. Confirmation once again, because it was the scene where Jafar goes into his little nook in the walls and how that correlates to how real systems operate out of sight. Mainstream media or history books might only mention them in political sensationalism. Scholars have long pointed out to how public policy, resource allocation, and global events are shaped by entrenched interests. You can research that if you'd like to check that out, but I'll include some links you can check out in the description as well. That also is able to be seen on individual levels. People operate in the dark and use that to tear you down. That also ripples out depending on how we react to it. Whether we can transmute that into something useful or not. Like a sword, truth is not some pretty thing to look at and wish it were realized by more people. It's a weapon when used correctly, with compassion and resilience, just like Aladdin's story, just like mine. That same scene, though, can be viewed two ways. Is that she is running away from her problems, for one, or shrinking herself, or it could show that she's running towards freedom. But it really does depend on your perspective. That next scene in the marketplace where Jasmine is exploring and helping a little kid by taking an apple and giving it to him just makes me think of how Aladdin saw her and thought she was beautiful as she was, not the status. Just her being herself. That's attractive. That's beauty. She wasn't around the people that made her feel that way. Much like myself, I'm not where I am supposed to be. Confirmation burp, excuse me. I can feel it on the soul level. She listened to herself and explored outside of her comfort zone and almost got hurt because of it. Yet Aladdin saved her. She took her risk and learned quickly and that's when help came. Not in the form of guards and rigid structures, but from a stranger that had a good heart and cared about the well-being of others. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. What matters is what's inside. Just like at the beginning of the movie where that character says, "Don't be fooled by its outward appearance." Like so many things, it's not what is outside, but what is inside that counts. In a way, Aladdin saw his destiny before he even realized it. A lot of us are in that position. We are staring our destiny in the face, yet don't see it. Our destinies are connected. Our purposes are all connected because they affect each other. It requires that connection and feeling your feelings in order to move forward in a healthy way in life. That makes me think of how people have constantly underestimated me. For example, there was this middle school teacher, my English teacher, that I had, and I wanted to go into the harder English course, which was called the AA English course in my school. I was doing well in my class that year and went up to ask her how to get in. She laughed in my face and told me straight up, "Oh, you'll never get into that. It's not a joke, I promise you." Yet when I applied anyway, knowing I was going to be able to get in because I knew how good I was at it, I got the hardest teacher. The teacher that I had heard from other people that had a hard time with her. But one day she had us turn in creative writing papers because she had us write our own little stories. I jumped at the chance. I love writing and I still clearly do. But when she saw mine, she asked me to come see her after class. She told me that what I had was amazing and that I should enter it into the district competition coming up. I was surprised. I looked at her at the time, taken aback, like, I'm that good at it? But I told her, okay, what do I need to do? I followed her instructions, and when the day came, she came to the ceremony with me. She had the biggest smile on her face, too. It was really funny. And I ended up winning the competition for my grade level in the category of creative writing. That is what I mean when I say that you are your own diamond in the rough. The only person that limits your potential is you. Just like in the scene where Aladdin and Jasmine are talking about feeling trapped. It doesn't matter who or what you are or what your status is. If you're living on your life for other people or are in less than ideal circumstances like I am right now, and you don't do anything about it because of fear, then nothing will ever truly get better in the way that feeds your soul. The only difference between anyone on earth is where you were born and the hand that you were dealt. And that's a quote from somebody on TikTok. I'll go ahead and link that at the bottom of the video. The next scene where Jafar tells Jasmine about Aladdin's sentence was quite telling to me, especially the line where Jafar says she took it rather well. It makes me think of how systems thrive off of silence and complicity despite how we may feel about it. She didn't do anything. Reacted emotionally, sure. It's not a bad thing, but when that's all we do, it allows for these atrocities to continue. Despite her status, she didn't do anything. It just makes me think of how status is just yet another tool that systems use to silence us if used incorrectly. That scene where Aladdin is in prison in the palace and this other prisoner, who is Jafar disguised, says to Aladdin, "You've heard the golden rule, haven't you? Whoever has the gold makes the rules." It's that twisted truth again. And it's the illusion of choice that systems want you to have. Just like how Aladdin is told by this disguised Jafar that he knows a way out. Yet it was just another pathway that he was being led down by the very thing that got him there in the first place. It makes me think of that halftime show with that Kendrick Lamar did. He used his music to talk about that exact thing. I'll link it in the description if you haven't seen it yet, but it's definitely something that a lot of people have seen. It's definitely something to chew on for sure. Especially the portion where he has someone laying on a street lamp and the shadow reminds me of the Hanged Man tarot card. That shifted perspective. It's a game that's rigged for those in power with money. It's especially true because in that same scene, Jafar says things aren't always what they seem. When Aladdin points out that they're both in a cell and doesn't think there's a way out, it's a way out, all right, but not in the way that Aladdin thought. That's exactly like the rug they find in the Cave of Wonders. That can symbolize that quiet truth that you know in your heart is something you should follow. That intuitive nudge. That thing that allows you to see things from a higher perspective. That thing that can get you out of your cage, your limited beliefs and your circumstances, even given enough time and space. You just have to let yourself believe that something is trying to help you and that good things still can happen for you. The magic carpet can also represent your intuition specifically, not just an intuitive nudge. As soon as you get on, you use it to navigate your situation in life. The more you use it, the more you can connect with spirit or God or source, whatever you want to call them. I prefer to call her spirit since I had my time with Mormonism. I associate spirit with the feminine because that is more in line with what a higher power is to me. A benevolent being that is here to help us. Just like how Aladdin uses the magic carpet to try and escape from the Cave of Wonders. All those things he dodges are situations in life. But in the end, sometimes your intuition can only take you so far. You still have to do things to make things happen, but that's in concert with spirit. Plus, you have free will. And in that case, that particular scene is represented by Jafar in the shadow aspect of free will, who demands that Aladdin give him the lamp before he saves him. And when he does, Jafar tries to kill him. The magic carpet wouldn't be able to do anything in that situation. Your intuition can't replace your free will or interfere with others' free will. It doesn't work like that. The fall, when the Cave of Wonders closes on Aladdin, is sort of like a dark night of the soul where you feel cut off by spirit, but in reality, it's just a silent period between you and spirit, where you're meant to learn something or understand something about yourself. Do shadow work and integrate those shadows. Once you do, you get that connection back, and in this case, it was in the form of Genie, after Abu took the lamp just before the cave collapsed. Jafar tried to take what was meant for Aladdin. The destiny-switching attempt failed. The scene where Genie finally comes out of the lamp, I had gotten a ping from my guides and the spirit herself saying, that is what it felt like when you finally started listening. I couldn't help but laugh, but when I got that intuitive nudge, spirit has jokes sometimes, which makes the spiritual journey that much easier. You have to have some humor with yourself and your life through these types of journeys. Otherwise, it's all too serious and it makes people stop pursuing it. It makes it heavy and dark, whereas it's supposed to be fun and full of exploration, like an adventure. And when you allow yourself to have fun and take an adventure, that can and often does translate to real world changes. I will say, though, that going after these dreams and believing in something bigger than myself, like spirit, has changed my life. I know it's hard right now in my life, but I knew this was coming. It's a blessing in disguise to lose my job. I was warned before, both in life and by spirit, that things need to fall away, including my job. Sometimes that's what it takes. It makes me laugh, though, because the scene after that where Aladdin asks if he is the master and Genie says, "That's right, he can't be talked," makes me think of my guides and spirit herself basically saying to me, "Yep, you're the master of your reality. We just waited for you to realize it. We're here to help you." It's not like they can't help you before you wake up to that fact, but it's harder because you don't catch all the synchronicities. You don't have as good of a clear connection with them. Once you do wake up, spirit will give you what you want, as long as you do what you can to find balance and trust within yourself and her, and that you push past fear. Fear is a very formidable emotion, though, so not many people can. Not in one lifetime. But as long as you do what you can in this life, you'll eventually get there. But you never know until you try. You just have to be open to change. Let spirit guide you, because a lot of the time, if you follow it, you'll be surprised by how much better life will get. And this is for me as well. Even though I'm right in the middle of it, I know it'll get so much better than I realize. The scene where Genie starts singing "Friend Like Me," he says, "I don't think you quite understand what you've got here. So why don't you just ruminate whilst I illuminate the possibilities?" And he says it all smug too. Your guides and spirit are just waiting and excited to help you. It's hilarious because my guides are practically rubbing their hands together in anticipation to really put on a show. I can tell. Like, I saw it in my head of like somebody going like this. It's like that meme, of like, you know. In that same song, there's a portion where Genie also says, "But master, you're in luck, because up your sleeves, you've got a brand of magic that never fails. You've got some power in your corner now. Some heavy ammunition in your camp. You've got some punch, pizzazz, Yahoo, and haul. See, all you got to do is rub that lamp. That's all you have to do, is put in the work, big or small, and spirit and your spirit team will be there in your corner as you go, and ready to go with you. As soon as you do, it'll be like that part where Genie asks, 'Can your friends do this?' and starts juggling his own head, but then passes it to you, and you start juggling it too. That's co-creation. A silly version of it represented by a silly cartoon, but nonetheless accurate. Even in the end of the song, it's very symbolic to, like, for me, for my personal story as well. And I'm sure it would be for you too, in a different way. If you pause it and see all the things that surrounds Aladdin and Genie, and look up the meaning of those things, like the symbolism of those things, like elephants, for example, it's very revealing to me. Even with all of this said, excuse me again, goodness. Even with all of this said, there's still rules to this sort of magic, if you will. The rules explained by Genie are accurate. You can't kill anyone, bring them back, or make them fall in love with you. You can't enact your will onto other people. That's how spirit works. She will work to give you things from thin air practically, but won't affect other people except as a byproduct of what you achieve. Then at the end of the song, where Genie gets upset because Aladdin is faking like he's not actually going to go through with making wishes, even after all of that performance, made me laugh, because that's how I feel that my spirit team and spirit herself felt when I doubt myself. Did you wake me up? Did you bring me here? And now all of a sudden you're walking out on me? I don't think so. Not right now. You're getting your wishes, so sit down. It makes me laugh, like it's so funny. It's like my spirit team kept saying, "Stop doubting yourself, damn it." I know it seems scary, but spirit wants you to believe in yourself. She really does. She wants to help you. So does your spirit team. Every time you doubt yourself or your abilities, it pushes you away from her and lulls you back to sleep. It's a constant thing to be awake. You have to take care of your garden, your oasis in your desert. Which is funny because after Aladdin and the gang escape the sealed off Cave of Wonders, they head straight into an oasis to plan. That's your safe haven with spirit. The place where you can do all of your inner work and protect your energy. Kind of like my little shed. Then once it's ready and you're ready, you can present yourself to the world, sort of like what I'm doing here on this channel. Presenting my findings to the world and doing something to realize my dreams. Something that Spirit asked me to do, what I came here to do. I had to fight the fear of being seen. Even in just these little videos at first, I was fucking terrified. I didn't want people to judge me or see me for me at first because I did not think I was enough. But I've come to the conclusion that being myself is more important. No matter what anyone might think or say. They aren't supposed to be in my life anyway. They still have a lot to learn. And that's how you have to look at it. That others that hurt you don't see their own potential. That they still haven't learned the value of connection and support. That there are more kind people out there than they think. Just like how I used to think about myself at first. It's like that saying from Star Wars, where Yoda says, "Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering." That is how Jafar leads his life. His fear of losing power or anger at being thwarted from that power, and that anger leads him to hating everyone but himself, which then leads to his own suffering in the end. Suffering because he knows that he could be powerful, but is chained to his own misery. He represents someone who is still asleep and stuck in their own cycles. That ties in really well with the scene where Aladdin asks Genie what he would wish for, and Genie says freedom. It just makes me realize that Spirit only wants to help us, like I said before. She wants to help those who yearn for true freedom and true joy. But her hands are tied until we grant her the power to help us by believing in something higher than ourselves and believing in our own power to change our lives. The song Prince Ali ties into that as well. We have to take some pride in ourselves. A little pride is healthy, but too much can really affect you and those around you negatively. Spirit wants to show you off and how amazing you really are, but whatever your talent and passion is, she wants to help you. Genuinely. Don't be someone you're not. Be yourself. That is how you attract people who are your soul family, those who truly get you. Sort of how Aladdin panics about Jasmine not wanting to talk to him. He chooses to be someone he's not and ends up paying the price later. It reminds me that if I went into this trying to be someone I'm not, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. At the cusp of something genuinely great. I can feel it. The song A Whole New World makes me tear up as well. It's like the divine masculine and divine feminine are finally working together rather than fighting each other all the time, in my opinion. It feels that way to me because I've felt comfortable in myself with my own masculinity, and that my version of masculinity is how it should be, in my opinion. That you can be masculine and you can be soft at the same time. I'm okay with being soft. I'm not where I want to be physically, like muscle structure and all that. But I am definitely where I want to be on the inside. It just reminds me of that character at the start of the movie where he says it's what is inside that counts, like I said. We can't let ourselves judge each other based on outside appearances. You shouldn't present yourself as something you're not, because in the end, when you put your best foot forward in love or even love for yourself, it's all based on a comfortable lie. You end up finding out the hard way what you didn't need to find out that way in the first place. If only you started out with the truth, even if it hurt. Sort of like how Jasmine felt when she found out that Aladdin had lied to her. When you lead with that truth, you get the truth back. Authenticity isn't just for you. It's for others too. It gives others a chance to let their guard down. When you finally stop performing, you finally get to be loved for the real you. That's the kind of love that matters and lasts forever. When you smash illusions, like the scene where Aladdin survives being drowned in the ocean by Jafar and his henchmen, he takes Jafar's staff and shatters it. It shatters the illusions you once had for yourself and the illusions of what others thought about you. My only job is to be myself, just like it's your only job. We are here to enjoy life, not feel restricted by it or the systems in place that rule our lives in ways they shouldn't. With this job I had a bit of a imposter syndrome at first. Why me? Why do I need to do this? It wasn't just for me. It was for everyone else too that stumbles across this episode and this channel. It's important to realize your own worth and your own power and what that can do for you and the people around you. That's kind of how, like, Aladdin learns that he could be Sultan, but starts having imposter syndrome and guilt because it was all based on a lie. That's why when you start being truthful with yourself, the less likely you'll have to deal with imposter syndrome when you start living life, the life that you wanted, that you manifested into being because of co-creation with spirit. Don't chase away your dreams by pushing people and opportunities away. Just like Aladdin does with his friends when he lashes out and makes Abu in elephant form cry. It's like a slap in the face of all of your efforts and your inner child. We can only have our heart's desires if we truly believe we deserve it. Your inner child knows the way to true happiness. You just have to follow them and teach them that joy is safe. Love doesn't have to be earned. The truth of the matter is that your inner child always knew you were worthy. You just have to see it for yourself, like I did. The scene where Jafar tells Jasmine the truth instead of Aladdin is sort of how Spirit uses our guides that do not have our highest good in mind, and yes, they do exist. They are there to show you the harsh truths that you need to know because you've missed them or ignored them too many times. It sucks hearing the truth from someone else about someone you loved, to the point that Jafar makes Aladdin shoot off into the sky in a literal tower moment. It's a little ironic, to be honest, but he comes crashing down with everything taken away from him. That's not always the case, but in this case, Aladdin's tower moment was big. It's never meant to punish you, or even though it might feel that way, it's always a learning experience with Spirit. Never something chastising or scolding. He was out in the cold. It makes me think of the tarot cards, Five of Pentacles and the literal Tower card. Because of his choices, he pulled a tower moment and got left in the cold. In that scene in particular, it's like Abu is Aladdin's ego in his life. Abu freaks out and Aladdin embodies his soul, and the soul knows how to navigate tower moments, what the lesson is supposed to be, and how to integrate it. The next scene I wanted to talk about was the scene where Jafar demands that Genie makes Jasmine fall desperately in love with him. That's sort of how these systems in the world want us to perceive them. They want the love and recognition and the power, but they don't want the responsibility and work that comes with it. You have to actually sacrifice things in order to get what you want. Just like Aladdin does, he sacrifices that facade he built and saves Jasmine as himself. It also reminds me of the sacrifice that Hercules made for Meg. That's why I personally believe that if you see the past presidents from before and after they take office, they lose a lot of the color in their hair and they have more wrinkles because of the stress of trying to run a country. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work that most people don't and aren't capable of doing well, which is why we're going through what is happening now. Among other reasons, in my opinion. Which leads me to my next point about the scene where Jafar turns into a snake. He says, "A snake am I? Perhaps you'd like to see how snake-like I can be." To me, that means that when we try to restore balance, even within ourselves, the systems will freak out and try to continue to have control over things and resist change, relying on fear to keep us from challenging them. It's an extinction burst. The old way is dying, and the new way is leading us to better days. Because of that, when Aladdin tries to free Jasmine from the hourglass, Jafar grabs him with his coils and says, "You little fool, you thought you could defeat the most powerful being on earth? Without the genie boy, you're nothing." It honestly gave me the Fool card in my mind from the tarot. It's like the systems know and are acknowledging that this is something that will eventually happen, but they're trying to delay it as long as possible. And eventually, the longer that they are in it, the more insane they get and start to tear itself apart from the inside, like we're seeing now politically, in my opinion. People start dropping like flies because they can't handle the energetic weight of what they've done. At least that's how I see it. The truth always comes out one way or another. Always. They create their own chains the deeper they go on the bad side of the spectrum. It's like that next scene where Aladdin talks Jafar into believing he is not all powerful and he needs to have the genie turn him into a genie too, since he perceives that genie's power exceeds his own. And he says just that. The trap that they always fall for: more power and control. So when he does, he doesn't realize that Jafar is creating his own chains, his own limitations, and his own grief. He says, "The universe is mine to command, to control." Then reality hits, and he is chained and given his own lamp as a consequence. While these people in power appear free, these lies catch up to them eventually. And since their ego doesn't want people to figure out that they're lying, they're easy to manipulate from other people who also want that power. And so corruption breeds itself. This reminds me of my book series again, but I can't say what happens, otherwise it spoils a really good ending to a trilogy. So, yeah. I personally believe that the world is on a scale when it comes to political stuff, as well as the spiritual and like regular life stuff, because it's all connected. Like I said before, the further to the right that we go, that's our level of self-implosion as a species, in my opinion. The more left we go, the better it gets. And that's not just a political spectrum, although it could just be limited to that if you want. There is a limit, though. You can go so far left or right that it turns into a circle and starts the cycle over again, where we have to find balance and then find that baseline. We have to find a way that we can all be happy and not have it affect our basic rights as humans. To create, to express, to explore, to understand ourselves and the world and the people around us. In the end, when Aladdin frees the genie and the genie says, "You'll always be a prince to me," and cries and hugs him, is what I want people to see me as. Someone embodying my truth and embodying something I want to see in the world. Somebody who actually cares. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was where the genie flies off and says, "I'm history. No, I'm mythology. I don't care what I am. I'm free." To me, that says, no matter what you believe in, spirit will always be there to help you. And your intuition will guide you to the truth, no matter where you start. It only matters that you start. Start caring about yourself and those around you. Do it now. The sooner we do that and realize that we are all diamonds in the rough, the sooner we can start to smooth it out for all of us, to make the world a little easier and more enjoyable than it's ever been before. So yeah, that's what I gleaned from the movie Aladdin. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. I know it's kind of a long video compared to the other episodes, but I appreciate it nonetheless if you've gotten this far. Leave a tiger emoji if you've gotten this far. I just want to see what happens. But with that being said, like I said, if you like and share the video, to share this with somebody who might need to hear it, feel free. It helps support my channel and my dreams, as well as, you know, getting the word out there of the kind of world that I want to see. And it helps fund my books and my life at this point. But yeah, with that being said, keep your minds and your hearts open. Peace.